Yo, what is good, YouTube, and welcome back to another JC2K video. In today's video, we're going to be doing episode number 30 of I Build Your Teams, the series where I build my viewers' teams into the best teams possible for my team unlimited and or competitive play based on how much MT they have and what their squad is currently looking like. First team today comes in from my boy HK, and he's got himself a hell of a squad. I mean, y'all can look at this team, and it's an elite level team all the way around. The Sean Livingston at the 2 is kind of an interesting thing that I haven't really seen and I haven't really thought about much. But if you don't have a Steve Smith, you don't have a Terry Dishinger, you don't have somebody like that, a Malik Sealy, I don't know, a top 2 guard, Sean Livingston can play the 2, especially if you're playing him next to guys like Hito and Big Z who are elite in terms of their size. This team is amazing. Like, this is a really, really good 10-man. With that being said, I do think there are a couple of changes that I would consider making, or specifically one, and that's with the amount of MT that you have. A guy like Kristaps Porzingis, who I think has become a tiny bit under the radar, is better than Sabonis in my opinion, because I prefer his release and he's still 7'3". I would consider picking up Porzingis, especially since you have Big Z as well, who can also guard giants coming off your bench. I think that might be the way to go, man. That's just my personal opinion, but I think KP over Sabonis. Sabonis is good, but KP, in my opinion, better. That's probably the main guy that I'd look to upgrade to. Outside of that, though, I mean, you have one of the best teams in the game. Like, this squad is insane. Not a ton to recommend, in all honesty. Second team today comes in from Peyton. He's got 25,000 MT. He's wondering about replacements for Şengün. He's got Taco on the starters, Peter on the bench. He's got some size. AK and Ferry at the 2s is really good. Steve Smith and Ricky Davis I'm a big fan of. I like Sean Livingston. Backup here, Hero KG and Hakeem. I don't like adore, but I like both of those cards for sure still. I think they're both very good. I agree with this comment. Hito's the guy. Even regular Hito is significantly better than Şengün in my opinion. Significantly. Like, regular Hito is a top 5 small forward in the game, or point guard in the game, in my opinion, for sure. Like, I would run Hito maybe even over Sean Livingston, even the regular version. I think he's incredible. I'm super high on Hito, as y'all will learn in this episode, because I'm going to recommend him for a lot of teams that don't have him. But Hito is the guy over Şengün. That's an easy swap. You're literally not going to lose MT either by doing it, which is really, really nice. And then after that, I would just start saving some MT for future pack drops. Next squad today comes in from NBA Fan. He's got 300,000 MT. Jimmy Butler, T-Mac, AK, Taco, and Wilt. Bench is kind of weird. He's got Sean Livingston, Steve Smith, Jeff Green, Giannis, and KG. So his bench doesn't have a ton of size, is what I'm noticing. His starters are really good, but I would say I would probably swap out Jimmy Butler again for Hito Turkoglu. Hito's just better and he's cheaper. That's an easy swap. Go get Hero Hito and sell Jimmy, and then you'll have Hero and Sean Livingston as your PGs. Your 2s will stay the same. T-Mac and Steve Smith is amazing. Your 3s, AK is great. I would consider picking up another small forward instead of a Jeff Green, even if it's somebody cheap like a Jonathan Bender would be a nice option. I don't love Jeff Green. He's not terrible, but I think you can get somebody like Bender who's better for cheap. That's what I would consider. 4s, you have Taco and Giannis right now. I would switch that to Taco and I don't know. Who's like the best budget 4 right now? Is there a guy that you can really buy who's going to be super, super affordable, who's going to fit that spot? You know what, actually? Just go talk on KG as your force and sell Giannis. And then at the 5s, you need 2 5s. I would get Hero Arvydas Sabonis and Peter Goodmanson. Those 2 guys are the guys that I would pick up for the 5s in terms of value for your team. So that would give you a team something like Hito, T-Mac, AK, Taco, and Peter. And then off the bench, something along the lines of Sean Livingston, Steve Smith, Jonathan Bender, KG, and Arvydas Sabonis. That 10-man right there, I think, is a slightly better 10-man than the one you're working with right now, and probably might even save you some MT. Next team today comes in from Wayne. He's got 1 million MT to work with. Now, here's the thing about this team. MJ is great, but he's also really expensive, and I don't know if you're running him next to Terry, and you have T-Mac as well. You have the 2 best ball handlers in the game, in my opinion. Do you really need MJ? I don't think the answer is yes. What I would probably do, just me personally, I would sell MJ and I would buy whoever you prefer between Hito and Jokic. I actually think Hito's a slightly better card than Jokic, but I think I'm in the minority there. But that's a swap that I would make just personally. And then if you wanted to get Jokic instead, you could do that. But pick up one of Jokic or Hito at the PG position instead of MJ. Save yourself some MT, and then you can keep your guards outside of that the same. Keep Sean, keep Terry, keep T-Mac. Big Z's amazing. James Worthy, I don't like love, but I think he's good enough, and you do have him locked in for Terry. I have no problems with him being the backup small forward, although if you want to spend a little bit of MT, you could go get an AK who's pretty cheap and is better than James Worthy. Taco is great. Peter is great. Arvydas is great. Bosch is not incredible, but again, he's a very, very solid card. If you want to continue running him to save some MT, I have no problems with that whatsoever, especially with the type of team that you have. The main thing that I would say is swapping out MJ. I just don't think he's worth the MT that you're spending on him. That's just my personal opinion, though. 14 today comes in from Carson. He's got, this is no money spent account. This is a heck of a no money spent team. Elgin Baylor, Joe Ingles, both incredible budget PGs. Glenn Rice, Scottie Pippen, Bender and Kuzma, Taco, Sagana Drop, Peter Gudmundsson, and Arvidas. So you got some size. I will say 50K. I think go get yourself a base Hito instead of Elgin. I would start base Hito at the 1, and then you could have Elgin, or you could have a Joe Ingles come off the bench, sell Elgin. That's just my opinion. Gives you a little bit more size. In my opinion, it's just a slightly better, more versatile team. That's probably the main upgrade that I'd be making to swap somebody out. Outside of that, I think you really got to just save some MT, because maybe a guy like Ricky Davis would be a nice upgrade, but I think he's probably a little bit out of the price point right now, especially if you pick up Hito as well. Got to work on saving some MT right now for a no money spent type team so that you can continue to add to your squad in future weeks and add those budget beasts. But I like the fact that you have Taco and Peter as well as Sabonis to give you some size to compete against those giants. Also, Jonathan Bender at the 3, being 7 foot, is really valuable right now as well. Second to last team today comes in from Danny. He's thinking about getting KP at center, and I like this team. Hito, Şengün I don't love, but Steve Smith, Glenn Rice I'm cool with, AK, and Tim Thomas. I think Tim's a little bit outdated. You can still run Tim. I would consider picking up a Jonathan Bender, somebody that's cheap like that as well. The thing about Bender that makes him so valuable, especially now, is the fact that he's 7 foot, and now that we're getting all these giants like KG who can play small forward, and especially Big Z who can play shooting guard, small forward, having more size at those positions I think is important, and Bender not being super expensive still, I think is definitely worth that pickup. That's just my opinion though. Taco and Dino, I love Dino. That's not a card that I recommend to a lot of people anymore because I don't think people think about him very much, but I still use Dino as my backup power forward. I think he's really, really good. So I'm totally cool with you keeping him, and then you have Peter and Sabonis. With the MT that you have, I don't think picking up a KP or a Yao is a bad idea. I would say another alternative, if you don't want to pick up a center, is to replace Şengün with a more expensive point guard. I don't know how close you are to like Sean Livingston in Unlimited, so that's a guy that maybe consider. This is the type of team, though, that if you picked up a Jokic, if you want to spend your MT there, you could. Another thing you could do is if you get Sean Livingston, you could pick up a Kevin Garnett, and then you can have Sean Livingston as your primary ball handler off the bench and a guy like KG to give you that more size and defense coming off the bench. That's another option. So I think you got a few options here in terms of if you want to pick up a center like a KP or a Yao, or if you're grinding for Sean Livingston, you want to pick up a Jokic, you want to pick up a Ron Artest even, somebody like that. I think you have a lot of options here for this team for what you can do as your backup guards. And then the final team today comes in from SoloDillo. He's got about 1 million MT, close to getting Livingston. This team, in my opinion, can honestly use a pretty good amount of work. I'm going to actually come out here and I'm going to build you a team just a little bit because we have a lot of interesting cards in this team, but I think you can save some MT or swap some MT around by doing stuff like this. Hito and Sean, first of all, that's your point guards. Sell Ja, sell LaMelo. Shooting guards, you have Anton Jameson and Scottie Pippen right now. I don't hate that. I don't really love it either, to be completely honest. I would say maybe we go something like that. And then at the 3s, we'll go with something like this. Zydrunas Ilgauskas and Andre Kirilenko. Did you have Taco already? Or okay, you had Peter and Sabonis, which I'm cool with. Peter there. Sabonis there. I actually like Sabonis, Peter slightly more than Sabonis, but if you don't, that's fine. We go get Taco at the 4, and back up 4 we get. Actually, how about we just swap this around, and then you can have some more size off the bench with Sabonis, and then off the backup 4 you can go get. Yeah, I don't love Boogie Cousins. I don't think he's amazing. Who else would you get at the backup 4? I'm trying to think right now in terms of a guy that would fill in that spot really effectively. I don't know. I'm struggling a little bit right now, to be completely honest, in terms of a guy that I'd pick up at the backup 4. Let's go look on 2KDB real quickly and just look at our options. All players. Let's go over here to power forward. Include a secondary position. This is how I generally search for players if I'm trying to find somebody to fill a hole. I guess Dwight Howard's an option. KP's a little bit expensive, I think. So is Dikembe, and he's a lock-in. But you know who a good guy who I don't recommend much is, and I know he's expensive. David Robinson's a really good card. That's a fun card to use as well, and I don't think that's a guy who gets recommended very much. That's somebody that I might consider picking up if you wanted to spend the MT. I think you can build this team with this squad and the amount of MT that you have right now. Now, if you want to spend, I don't know if you want to spend all your MT, because you're going to have to spend the majority of your MT to build this type of team. You could always go with more of a budget guy as well, somebody like a DeMarcus Cousins who you already have, if you wanted to save yourself some MT, doing something like this instead. But this type of team I like a lot more than this team that you have built right here, and that is just my opinion. But that is the last team for today's video. I hope y'all did enjoy this episode of I Build Your Teams. If you did, make sure you hit that like button, leave a comment, and subscribe. I'll be back with more 2K content very soon, and I appreciate y'all. Peace.